Good morning.
Good morning.
It's Lynn Sylvia. And then do you need board members here, or do you just want everybody that's here?
Well, board members first. I think I have everybody else. Cameron, Jessica,
Yep,
Jonathan, Dylan.
yep. And then I'm the only one here other than Chance from committee.
Yeah, Veronica, we have Rebecca here from the county, not Jessica. Oh, or maybe you didn't see Rebecca. We have Jessica from Reef, Lanier. We also have Rebecca from New Hanover County.
Okay, that's who I didn't know, Rebecca. And is that McKay or no?
We have Mr. Jared, the illustrious Mr. Jared Patterson here.
Jared Patterson. Thank you.
Veronica, you can see the rest of us on the, can't you?
I
This-
can.
Okay.
Hey, Veronica, who else do we have member-wise? I see Terry, and that's all I see on our screen. Are there any other members? Peter?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, let's give it a few minutes. We don't have a quorum quite yet.
We're
Veronica,
not live yet, right?
We are.
we are live.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't hear it.
Veronica, correct me if I'm wrong, we need 5 for a quorum, correct?
I think, well, is Jessica still considered on the committee?
I don't know. That might be gray. If
If
not,
she's not, then we need 4.
all right, let's go with the 4. John Steen's going to be 5 to 10 late, so he might be our magic bullet.
John Sneed.
John, okay.
Sorry, Mr. John Sneed. And I haven't heard from anyone else other than Scott. Scott's going to be out. And I have not heard from Justin. Have not heard from McKay.
I saw Scott the other night, and he said he would see us at this meeting, but that may have been just being friendly.
Yeah, Terry, I think he had a scheduling conflict as of late yesterday this morning that swapped on him. Lynn, Terry, Peter. McKay. Am I missing something? Sure. Peter, Terry. Hey, Veronica, while we're still waiting, can you see the PowerPoint on your end? I think you're muted.
That might help. I said it just came on the screen, yes.
All right, good. Thank you. That's Jeff. Have we added anyone committee-wise online? Still just Terry and Peter? Scott's out. Waiting on John. Jessica out. Holly out. Hey, Christina. Sure, yeah. If we want to just kick it off and start with Jared. Sure, we can do that. That way we can get him out of here.
Morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. We do not have quorum at this point, so we are going to put off the approval of minutes till later in the meeting because we do expect some committee members to join us later. So with that being said, I would like to go with public input. I believe, Chance, we have someone here from the public. Or do you want to,
Sorry, you threw me for a loop.
Okay.
Lynn.
public input, or is this the?
Yeah, so Jared Patterson is Director of Communications. He's gonna take the quarter cent sales tax presentation, so.
Great, so we'll turn everything over to you, sir. Make sure your mic's turned on, please.
Recording in progress.
All right, thank you very much. My name is Jared Patterson. I'm the Director of Communications here at the City of Wilmington. And I've got a presentation for you for informational purposes about a quarter cent sales tax item that is going to be on the ballot this November. I've got a presentation that was developed by New Hanover County to present to you this morning that gives you an overview of what this quarter cent sales tax item is all about. If you see here on the slide deck, there's a dedicated website, trailstransitnhc.com, that has a lot of information on this, as well as some frequently asked questions to give additional information beyond what this presentation has this morning. So on the ballot this November is going to be an item, a referendum that would approve or disapprove a quarter cent sales tax dedicated to public transportation. And some of the items that it would be used for are included here: enhancing trail connectivity, improving pedestrian safety, crosswalks, sidewalks, dedicated bike lanes, all items that are related specifically to public transportation systems. Here's an overview of the sales tax measure. This is a referendum, and it will appear on your ballot as a yes/no vote for those who live in New Hanover County. And our general election date is November 8th this year. This is a sales tax that would collect 25 cents for every $100 spent. That's not going to be on all goods. There are certain goods that are exempted from sales tax, such as groceries, fuel, and prescription drugs. The estimates are that this would bring in approximately, if approved, $14 million a year as a sustainable source of revenue for public transportation and public transit systems. The projections over a 10-year period are about $144 million, so a fairly significant injection of funding over a 10-year period into public transportation-related systems. Importantly, I also want to point out that this source of funding would enable a pretty significant amount of leverage, meaning that a lot of the funding that comes in for projects, for transportation projects, require what would be considered a local match. You know, for example, federal funding may come in for 80% of a project on the condition that the locality will provide that additional 20%. And so these funds enable kind of a pool of funds that would be able to be leveraged for a much larger investment in public transit and related infrastructure. John, could you advance me to the next slide? Thank you. If we look at the priorities that have been identified and the potential projects that have been identified, and you divide that out over $144 million approximately over a 10-year period, you could see about 45% of these funds go to WAVE, prospectively about 39% going to bike and ped related improvements, and then 16% to funding a portion of the rail realignment project. And I'll go into these in greater detail now. John, would you mind advancing, please? Bike and pedestrian, we've got a fairly significant network of bike and pedestrian multi-use paths, sidewalks, all throughout the city and extending into the county. These funds would allow this network to not only be expanded and connected, but it would also help to connect this network to public transit wave stops in particular. These funds would be able to use for design, right-of-way access and acquisition, construction, as well as work for safer crosswalks where they hit roads and intersections, and the addition of things such as dedicated bike lanes. John, could you advance to the next slide? Here are some identified trails that are currently in plans. If you see that map over on the right side of the slide, that kind of shows that the potential investment in bike and pedestrian multi-use trails, sidewalks, crosswalks really stretches from top to bottom, east to west throughout New Hanover County. Go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. Wave Transit also has identified several fairly transformational items that would be able to be funded were this quarter-cent sales tax to be approved. And you see here just a few of them: expanding hours, increasing the frequency of routes. One of the biggest impediments right now that Wave encounters to higher reliance on their bus system is that they don't have the ability to have greater frequency on those routes. And so these funds would be able to help alleviate that and address that need, as well as free youth passes is also something that I want to highlight as something that would be available prospectively through the use of these funds. John, if you'd hit the next slide for us. The Rail Realignment Project is something that has been in the planning process here at the City of Wilmington for a number of years. This project would take the rail line that currently goes through the city and through the downtown and relocate that so that it doesn't lead to as much clogging of our roads and that train track crisscrossing all over a number of roads right now, all through downtown. The problem with that is that it really, in addition to impeding the flow of traffic, it really hinders the connectivity for public transit, for people who are reliant on bike and pedestrian ways of getting around. Again, these sales tax funds could be leveraged in such a way that it could provide a much larger pot of money to be able to address what is a very significant project. And I also want to point out, if you go to the city website under major projects, you can learn more about the Rail Realignment Project specifically. Also want to point out that the type of funding that this sales tax would enable has been used in other places in the state of North Carolina to leverage for fairly significant investments on large-scale projects such as the Rail Realignment Initiative. Right now, Orange County, Wake County, Durham County, and Mecklenburg County all have half-cent sales taxes for public transit systems in place right now. This for New Hanover that is going to be voted on in November is a quarter-cent sales tax, not a half-cent sales tax, which is what is allowable by statute. John, if you could hit that next slide. I want to drill down just a little bit on rail realignment and show you one perspective aspect of this project and the kind of impact that it could have. If you see right now that the long yellow line there, that is a road, and you currently have a rail that is crisscrossing that road in a couple of places. Several times a day, you'll have freight trains going back and forth across this road, which is really impeding traffic and breaking up this roadway for use from a bike and pedestrian standpoint. And so if this project were to be funded, and that is something that these sales tax dollars could go towards, that rail could move off of that road, enabling a completely different look on this right here is South Front Street, enabling a completely different look to this section of road. A Wave bus stop could be put in, as well as a much more accessible and streamlined street structure there, as well as bike and pedestrian facilities. So it could be a very transformational project for this part of town, and this is a snapshot of how the rail realignment project could impact intersections all throughout the city where, where rail tracks run across roads. That's all I've really got for you. If you want to hit the next slide here, I want to remind you there is a website, Trails Transit NHC, that's got additional information as well as FAQs that tell you more about this measure that's going to be on the ballot and the type of projects that it would be able to fund.
Can I ask a question?
You can ask, and I can try to answer it.
Good, because we've been trying to get an answer. Again, this is Terry, SP, and with DBA, we worked very, very hard several years ago to get the trolley, downtown trolley program enhanced and replaced, and the 2 trolleys purchased, which a lot of work considering it doesn't work, because a 40-minute cycle does not work. And I'll give an example. Raleigh runs on a 12-minute cycle. It works. The DBA, as a group, has said if we don't see an answer saying that some of the funds will go to putting both of those trolleys in the loop at a 20-minute cycle, you're not going to get. There's not going to be a lot of support from the downtown business owners. Have you heard anything? I've asked Maria, I've asked several people, Paul Lawler, and I'm not getting an answer, and I have to answer at the next DBA meeting.
For WAVE-specific items, I would have to refer you to WAVE. What I can tell you is that the quarter-cent sales tax funding would allow for greater frequency and expanded hours system-wide.
And from the parking committee, we've also discussed this too, about downtown not having to build more decks and more parking, but moving people more efficiently. So we will be knocking heavily at their door because we're not getting answers.
Terry, anybody else have any questions, concerns for Mr. Patterson at this time?
I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Hearing none, thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Veronica, I believe at this time we do have quorum. John Sneed has shown up to the meeting. So if we would, I'd like to go back and we will go with the approval of minutes for August 2022. So if everybody's had a chance to review the minutes, if I could have a motion to approve.
I'll move.
Thank you, Terry. And is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, John, for the second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on. I believe I'll turn it over to you, Chance, for the parking services RFP.
All right. Thanks, Lynn. Jonathan, can you forward the slide twice? I believe I don't have control anymore. One more. There we go. Awesome. So finally here we have some action from City's Purchasing Department. The Parking Services RFP, which is currently Lanier Reef's contract. RFP was released this week on Monday afternoon. A little bit later than where we wanted it, which kind of puts us in a little bit tighter, quicker time frame to get this thing awarded by City Council this winter and a potential contract start of February 1st. So current schedule on the RFP right now, our proposals due October 20th. If we do shortlist, oral presentations from the shortlist of those bidders would be last week of October. I'll cycle back to the DPAC presentation. Right now, aiming for a council award of this contract November 15th. We do, since it's not a council election year, I believe we do have the option to push that to the first meeting in December. So we've kind of got 2 targets there, and then a potential contract start date of February 1st. With our current schedule and the goal of getting this thing to council for review and staff recommendation, DPAC recommendation, November 15th, and proposals not being due until October 20th, that puts us on an odd timeline with this group. I think we meet in November, 2 days after that council 15th date. And to talk about this again in October probably doesn't give us enough time. So my thought here is, especially since historically we've canceled the November meeting and or the December meeting and or both at times, depending on what we have action-wise and subject matter-wise. So my thought here is, since this is a pretty major, pretty big item, haven't done it since 2012, that maybe we call a special meeting in the middle there, so maybe the second week of November, just to kind of have this sole item on the agenda to talk through what we received, what staff is recommending, and at that point, hopefully what would be going to council for review on the 15th. So I don't know if that means we'll have an October meeting and kind of this special meeting. Kind of leave it up to the group. I don't know of any other, big ticket items coming through in October. So my recommendation would be that we kind of just merge the October and November meeting into one, and just reschedule that date to first or second week of November.
Sounds good.
I don't have any objections to
Okay.
that.
What I'll do is I'll get with the clerk, make sure we're good on doing that. And what I can do is, when she gives me the notice period, we've got some time. I'll shoot out like a calendar doodle or something for everyone just to kind of check dates. We'll maybe keep it on Thursday morning, so maybe the first or second Thursday of November in there. Before we move on, any other questions on that one?
Chance the screen is showing like an analytics or something, and we can kind of see the in the corner, the agenda.
Thank you, Terry. It's done. The whole studio is on the screen.
Jonathan, did you catch that? Sounds like what we're seeing here is not what they're seeing. Hang tight, everyone. We'll pause for a second. Hey, did the screen just move? No?
It's now a blue screen of all the.
All right, hang tight. What about now?
It's back.
You can see 300 block of South Front Street there on the screen.
Parking services, RFP.
Parking services RFP.
Was what we were just on.
Yeah. All right, hang tight. It's almost like you've got two of them up. Still parking services RFP?
No, now it's a Word document. It's like the agenda the Word document. There.
So that's back to my control. All right, maybe just keep the small screen there. So what about now? Can you see just the PowerPoint with the smaller screen? All right, we'll keep it like that because I don't know that there's any huge visual we need to show. Okay, sorry about that. So residential parking, 300 South Front Street. We've been contacted by some property owners on this block. about some potential modifications to their residential parking restrictions currently. They are, for those of you that haven't been with us for many years, they are one of 3 remaining residential blocks that date back to the mid-90s overnight only program. So currently, they have residential restricted parking only from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. 7 nights a week. So they don't have any daytime restrictions. 300 South Front, 400 South Front, and 400 South Second, I believe, are the remaining 3 from that mid-90s start of this RPP program. I'm honestly surprised that it's taken them this long. I think what's happened is there's been some new property owners that have moved in, as well as just not necessarily increased parking, because that block has always been busy at least since I've been here. I honestly think some increased traffic flow coming up and down Front Street is kind of provoked this a little bit more. And I think with the parking challenges they've always had, the increased traffic, they're honestly having challenges getting in and out of their driveways. A lot of these properties do have driveways on this block, which I think is probably what stalled this. But they have spoke with me several times, lots of emails coming across, and I would anticipate a property owner petition coming across probably here in the next few weeks, which would kind of start that multi-step process to modify their block there. At this time, I think they're pushing to mirror what's on the 100, 200 block of Ann Street and a couple others, which would be 1 hour parking by day, and then permanent only parking from 5:30 until 3 a.m. Kind of a continuation of some of those blocks we just recently changed a few years back. So I will keep everyone updated on this. Just a reminder, everyone, the process. A petition comes across from 2/3 of the property owners. City's parking contractor then goes out and does an occupancy test. If the test passes the kind of two-prong rule of 70% occupied at all times on average, with 25% of those vehicles belonging to non-residential or outside of the immediate area owners, then that would then go to a vote for the owners to formally adopt this change. Then it will come to DPAC for review and support, then to City Council for final adoption. Something I probably would like to talk about too, not necessarily today, but just want to put a bug in everyone's ear. As Wilmington kind of continues to grow, get busier, I think there's going to be some outlying neighborhoods beyond kind of this South Historic District where we're going to start to see some of these challenges. Something we have historically done is allowed these programs to kind of be a block by block process, which is takes things longer. It's a domino effect. As soon as you change one block, it puts more pressure on the other block, and kind of so on. And so it kind of seems like we're regularly going through this every 1 to 2 to 3 years, depending on what's happening. Something I've wanted to look at for a while, and this could be a good opportunity to kind of review it, is how we start to treat some of the outlying blocks. If we want to put some requirements on a more than one block process at a time, such as the city of Raleigh has an 8-block linear process. So really what they kind of see is two things: is not being able to park on your block is not necessarily a parking problem. It's more so a multi-block problem. And it also kind of brings in the, if you're going to garner support for this type program in a new area, you really need to look at the neighborhood as a whole and not just that single block phase. So nothing specifically to kind of recommend or lay out, but just something I want to put a bug in everyone's ear as we kind of progress with this one. Always a good time to kind of look at the program as a whole. Peter, I don't know if you've heard anything from these owners on this block. Okay. Yeah, I think the resident streamlining is at 314 South Front, and he's pretty quickly garnered support through there, and, you know, as in typical fashion, it's kind of a grassroots process, and, you know, they're pretty quickly doing their due diligence. So, and honestly, I think on the south end of downtown, we're about to reach our point of cost versus distance on some of these parking challenges. When you go past the 300 block to the 400 block, it's pretty sparsely occupied. 300 block is pretty heavily occupied. I think that Church Street cross, Castle Street cross is probably that comfortable distance that folks will be willing to walk versus kind of pay for parking closer in. So.
Any questions, concerns?
All right, we will move on.
Chance, real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
We are, and they're gonna shoot me for bringing this up. We're anticipating we're gonna see challenges in the soda pop district pretty soon. And Southfront merchants are already saying, they're really struggling. I suggested they take advantage of the valet program and use the city parking lot over there across Third, but are you hearing the same things?
South Front, yes. There's been some discussions with the developer over there on some options. One of them was allowing public parking at the Greenfield Lake parking lot over there. There's some challenges with that because it's a park service lot in terms of when it's open for hours based on park rules. But I don't know that that's really enforced down there currently, so that was an option for them. The potential valet option has been recommended to them as well. But I think the challenge with those two options is getting across 3rd Street down there. I don't know how many folks regularly drive through that little curve of 3rd Street by South Front and Greenfield Lake, but it's a speedway, so to speak, if that light is green. So I think one of the challenges was getting both, you know, staff valet and or general public safely across in high volumes at night. They have proposed some other ideas that isn't necessarily public right now, so but we are aware of it, Terry. Soda pop, absolutely. We're kind of behind the scenes watching it, looking at it as it grows and progresses. And I think the soda pop's also another one that could come to light with some residential parking permit that borders that new area over there that we may need to look at in the future and how we kind of manage that, back to my comment of single blocks versus a multi-block type program. But yeah, we're looking at both.
Okay.
All right, next up, city updates. Got a few here. The 2nd Street CIP rehab project happening next door to us. I keep saying we're closing in on a finish, and we are closing in on the finish, but some new stuff keeps popping up. On the screen here today is the last week or so, they've been pressure washing the exterior of the facility and then also applying a waterproofing sealant on the masonry and the concrete structure there. So you can see a good before and after on the screen of kind of how dirty that brick masonry section was versus what it looks like from a couple of days ago. We have had to shut down the parking deck solely to monthly contracted parkers over the last few days. I believe as of late afternoon, we were able to open that back up to daily ticket holders. Over the next few weeks, we will be slowing down on the interior work and focusing on finishing up the exterior work with the exception of the stairwell repair. The west stairwell is going to be completely rebuilt, and then the east stairwell will be repaired, and that's probably going to be the only 2 items lingering for the next few months. And right now the goal would be for contractor to come in and completely demo, completely rebuild the west stairwell, which is currently closed for the public right now. open that back up and then start the repairs on the east side. So it's get one up fully functional and then close the one that's currently functional for the repairs. Right now, we're probably looking at November, early December for that stairwell completion. But the brunt of the other work, I know I've said this before, should be coming to a near end here in the next few weeks. But here's another picture on the screen of kind of a before and after of what that exterior facade looks like after a good power washing. And I know in the 6 years I've been here, we haven't done this, and I would hedge a bet that this facility hasn't been power washed on the exterior in a very, very long time. So a good at least aesthetic improvement, and at the same time you're not going to be able to see it, but that waterproofing sealant that's put on the outside of the facility is gonna do a lot structurally. All right, next up, I don't think we have McKay on the call, and this spreadsheet on the screen is probably very, very, very tiny for everyone listening in from home, but
It's really small for us. We're still stuck on
Yeah.
residential parking screen.
oh, are you?
Yeah.
What is happening?
It's haunted.
So is the screen moving now? So you didn't see any of my pretty photos? Oh.
I'll put it up on my end.
All right, let's let Veronica. All right, I'm going to hit pause again real quick. Sorry. We at least have to show off my photographic skills. We accomplish anything this morning. All right, Veronica, I'm showing, looks like I'm on my phone, I'm showing city updates and the two pictures, right? Can everyone see that? All right, so let's pretend you didn't hear my last few comments from like 5 minutes ago. We'll start over. It'd be like deja vu. Groundhog Day in September. All right, the first one, if you want to scroll back, Veronica, is just a kind of a before and after of the east lobby brick facade section. And you can kind of see on the right side there, it was the before. They power washed it, sealed it, and that's what the result looked like there on the left as of Monday or Tuesday of this week. And then if you scroll to the next picture, exact same thing on the right. Before, you can see all that grit and grime that's collected through the years. There was some residual graffiti there toward the landscaping, and then power washing and sealing is what that kind of exterior facade looks like. So big aesthetic improvement there. I know there's been some huge challenges from the parkers. This has been probably the largest project I've ever been involved with where we didn't fully close the parking facility. So thus far it's worked. There's definitely been some dusty days and some challenges, but we are nearing the end. Veronica, if you want to go to the next slide. And even though you can see it now, it's still probably very, very, very tiny. And I don't think McKay is on here. He brought this up last month and kind of wanted to see how we were comparing on the monthly parking numbers. And I sent this PDF out to the group at the toward a couple days after our August meeting, but just wanted to touch on it real quick. And in a nutshell, the numbers we are seeing on the monthly contract side is mirroring what we were seeing in 2019. So our volume of monthly parkers is pretty much back. We're seeing some heavier increases at Market, some subtle increases in Second, and that's really due to that construction project. So all of our new parkers that are coming to us for monthly parking over the last 9 to 12 months, we've sent them to Market Street in the interim while we are working on Second. Second Street lot is pretty static, same with Hannah Block. So our numbers are pretty darn close to where we were in 2019. So big dip during COVID, and then subtle increases back to where we are now, which I'm feeling pretty good about. And I believe that is it on me for city updates.
Any questions or concerns? Hearing none, we'll move on to organizational updates. From CFCC's perspective, fall semester is in full swing. If you haven't noticed, the traffic and the violations that come with our students being back. We are slightly up again this semester, which is great news, and the push has really been to get students back on campus. So that seems to be working. Since it was mentioned at the last meeting, the 3rd Street Bridge population, CFCC still is having a real struggle with dealing with the unsheltered population underneath the 3rd Street Bridge, in addition to just the influx of that population downtown as a whole. So we are continuing to try to work and find ways to help assist with that. But that's it for us. CVB?
This week, we actually have the North Carolina Public Health Association, 500 people here. The week of the 19th through the 20th, Builders First Source will be here with 350 people. The Association of Nurse Anesthetists, it took me several times, years of trying to say that, but now I can say nurse anesthetist with no problem at all. They have roughly 500 people coming the week of October 6th through 9th. A little event called Ironman World Triathlon will be here October 12th through 15th, bringing in roughly 7,000 people, about a $7 million impact. And then later in October 23rd through 27th, we have Longleaf Alliance with 350 people. So as you can see, after many years of struggling, the events side of our business is doing much, much better.
The rep from Longleaf get in touch with your team about like a basket and some visitor info type stuff?
If they did, it would have been through Karen. I haven't been
Okay.
informed of that, but I will check and see.
All right, cool. I sent her to Karen, I believe, a few weeks back. This is
Follow
probably
up on
like
that.
July, August. So I haven't heard anything since, so I'm assuming they reconnected and we're
Okay. We will find out.
Is that it, sir?
That's all for me. Is that not enough?
Yeah, that's plenty. It's great news. DBA.
Well, the events are rolling along. This weekend's American Craft Walk downtown, Saturday. We've got also the Beer and Wine Walk coming up before our next meeting. So we'll see some road closures, but we're really happy with the craft walk. Those are true artisans, so it does, as we say, it tends to bring the people downtown that we want to come downtown and shop. So our goal is to continue to support more efforts such as that.
Thank you, Terry. New Hanover County. Good deal. Roe.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, sir. WDI.
So the homeless issue has been a big focus of ours for the past several months. We have executed a new indemnity agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for access to the 3rd Street Bridge and the rail trail corridor. So far, we've coordinated 2 successful cleanup efforts of that site, the first by our MSD Ambassadors program, and the second on September 1st, where we joined forces with NCDOT. They provided a ton of resources out at that corridor to help remove trash from that site, as well as 5 volunteers from our social services community and our faith-based groups. We removed 2,500 pounds of trash, and DOT is going to be providing quarterly cleanups of that site, and we are working with our social services groups and faith-based organizations to do a monthly cleanup with Cape Fear River Watch, helping us out with some trash removal and landfill fees. So there's a big effort there to reach the homeless population as to your issues at CFCC. So we're trying to get some groups from PATH, from Coastal Horizons PATH team, as well as our street outreach coordinator to connect with the homeless population underneath that bridge site with the ultimate goal of finding them more established shelter and also keeping the unsightly trash from underneath and around that bridge. The next cleanup will take place on October 13th, and that will involve strictly our volunteer group and our outreach team. In other news, we've approved 4 facade improvement grants for a total of $15,000 in grants earmarked for the first half of the fiscal year. We have another $10,000 to fund for the rest of the year, and applications are coming in for that. 2 microloans have closed this fiscal year, and 3 are in process now. So I'm assuming we will use up the $25,000 in the Duke Energy grant that we had received last year by the end of the year. And got a lot of ribbon cuttings coming up. The next one will be for Drift on September 28th or 29th, I believe. And we've got a few other businesses that are lining up. Eagles Dare will be opening in October. So that's all for WDI.
Thank you. WPD,
Good morning.
good morning.
Knock on wood, there's nothing major to report, and as Christina said, we're just trying to work a lot with MSD and these outreach programs to figure out a solution for this 3rd Street Bridge. I wish it was easy, but as you can tell, we're trying to do a lot. We have made a few arrests of some of the unsheltered down there that were our problem, hate to say problem children, but our frequent flyers, and that's helped a lot with our call volume down there, getting a couple of them out of there. So other than that, nothing major to report on our end.
Thank you, sir. And that's it from organizational reports, unless anybody else has anything to add at this time. All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn then. Thank you, John. A second? Terry, thank you for the second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody. We'll look for information from Chance about upcoming meetings. So watch your emails. So if we do have to pivot from our regularly scheduled meetings, we can do so.
Yeah, I'll shoot everyone some notes here in the next few weeks on the subject. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.